The Chinese character Tong has no real equivalent in the English language. It can function as a noun, verb or adjective. Some of its English translations include to pass through, to know well, to connect with, to communicate with, an expert, open or to clear.
I'd like to come to the idea of Tong and the way you've been using it in this. I think you've written a few things on it. I've personally, I explained the martial art I do is Tong Bei, and it's through training that I've come to an idea of what it means in the medicine, just because of my sort of understanding of it through that. And you've looked at it from a many sort of different sort of areas, and you're using it as actually a principle to analyze certain things.
No, I came across it really. I came across the work of Ye Tianshi.
Yes.
Yeah?
Okay.
Ye Tianshi is a famous Qing dynasty doctor and scholar, best known for his work in the warm disease school of thought.
So it's very clear, suddenly he talks about tonging things all the time. But I came across it because he's also very fascinated with, he has his, he works very much with the conception of the body, I think, made up of these tubes, channels, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so then the main focus of treatment becomes the tongue things, yes? But of course you could think also in, Shanghan, like in this revival of Shanghan.
The Shanghan Lun, or the Treatise of Cold Damage, is one of the seminal clinical texts of Chinese medicine and dates to somewhere before 220 Common Era.
It's all about opening passages again, so they talk about the roadways through which pathogens come in and out of the body, yeah, okay. So this imagination becomes, so I came to it very much as a historian, yes, not like some other people, they come to it because it fits with their idea of doing things. So then you like if you have a certain conception of how your medical practice should be, then you look for
things that
fits like it in the past.
Okay.
Yeah, so that says, oh yes,
yeah,
it's okay. I'm like doing what it says there. Yes?
Yeah.
I really came to it as a historian. I tried to understand what was in the mind. Like how did particular people act? What was in their mind, in their bodies, etc. Yeah?
Confirmational bias, right? Not that.
But from having seen that, Ye Tianshi is so keen on Tong, then it became very clear very quickly, that Tong is a really important concept in Chinese thinking, totally, and obviously in Chinese medicine, yeah, okay. But when we talk about, so one of the things that Ye Tianshi does also, and also a lot of which comes out of, if you think about Shanghan stuff, you emphasize the Fu much more than the Zang, isn't it? Yes, or equally than the Zang.
In Chinese medicine, the Zang are the yin organs of the human body and include the lungs, heart, kidneys, spleen and liver. The Fu are the yang organs of the body and include the large and small intestine, the bladder, the stomach and the gallbladder.
If you talk about the Zang, it's always about Bu and Xie, isn't it? Yeah?
In Chinese medicine, Bu and Xie usually apply to clinical manipulation of the patient according to their condition. If they have a deficient condition, one will Bu or tonify or supplement them. And if they have an excess condition, one will Xie or reduce such a condition.
Because the Zang store stuff, yeah? But if you talk about the Fu, you Tong, they have to Tong.
Yeah.
So I think it also does it make sense? Yeah. I find it very interesting when I've done stuff with, when I teach with, looking at how people diagnose, when they're much more in the Zang, like Zang Fu, but it also means Zang mainly, yes?
Yes, yeah,
frame
sure.
of mind.
Sure.
They always continuously thinking of deficiency, always, yes? Because something, whereas if you have you manage to shift that perspective, the same problem starts to look different, yes? Because it's much more about connections and I like Tong as a concept very much because, it has so many different meanings, not just about physical passage, but another meaning of Tong is like to constellate. So like, like when you Tong something in Chinese, when you tongue it, you understand it, yes?
Mhm.
But why do you understand it? Because you make the right connection between,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yes, it's
Yeah.
not because you understand the facts,
Mm.
because his tongue can change, isn't it? It's situational, and so I think tongue is a really interesting concept that we should
Yeah, right.
explore further.
So kind of like a philosophical concept as well as a medical one, as well as
it's very
Yeah.
physical, like we do
Yeah.
in martial arts. isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
Yes?
yeah.
So it allows us. I think it's a concept like that could help us maybe.
Hmm.
You know, because it's embodied, but it's also it's conceptual, it's cognitive. You know, whereas Bu and Xie, I don't see them as
Right.
cognitive. Yeah, does that make
Yeah,
sense?
yeah.
Also in Chinese intellectual history, well, you can boo something, you can supplement something. Yeah, like Yu Chang talks about booing the Shanghan. Yes,
Right.
You add
Right.
something to it.
Right.
Okay, but when you boo it, then you tongue it. Yes.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's. I mean, we would need to talk more about it, but I think it's a.
All right.
Yeah.
Discussion for another time. Very well.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for your time.
Okay.
It was great.
Let's do it again.